Hi, and welcome to Michigan Matters. An estimated 1 in 8 adults in Metro Detroit is at risk for kidney disease, as the odd for folks with diabetes or heart disease or high blood pressure, it's even higher. But there are things you can do to lower your risk. We're going to talk to two people in the know all about it. We're also going to hear from Paul Glantz, CEO of Imagine Entertainment, who owns movie theaters across Michigan and other states, about big changes ahead for his company and the industry. It's a show about our health and escaping to the movies. Let's get started.
From CBS Detroit, this is Michigan Matters with Carol Kane. Michigan Matters is brought to you in part by Cure Auto Insurance.
And we are so pleased to welcome Dr. Silas Norman, a transplant nephrologist from University of Michigan, who was the incoming chair of the National Kidney Foundation of Michigan, and Sandy Baruah, old friend of the show, who's president and CEO of the Detroit Regional Chamber, who happens to be a kidney recipient. And we're going to talk about all these things. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you guys are here to talk about this because it's such an important issue that we don't hear as much about. And Dr. Norman, let me start with you. I said at the start, 1 in 8 people potentially watching this right now is at risk for this. So how pronounced is this disease in Metro Detroit?
So it's quite pronounced. We have an epidemic of both diabetes and high blood pressure in the community, which are the two leading causes of kidney disease. And so, as you mentioned, 1 in 8 people are at risk, and close to 1 million people in the state of Michigan have kidney disease, so quite prevalent.
And I know there's much more we're going to talk about this, but Sandy, you too had kidney disease. And talk a little bit about, because you're the picture of health and you were all the way through, and you had kidney disease and had to have a transplant. Talk about your story.
Yeah, as you know, Dr. Norman said that diabetes, hypertension, and obesity are the #1 causes for kidney failure. When my kidneys failed back in 2015, I didn't have any of those. I didn't have diabetes. I did have a little high blood pressure, but controlled under medication. And fortunately, I wasn't obese, but probably a little overweight. So it's not just those things, although those things are most prevalent. In fact, mine came from long-term use of NSAIDs, like Aleve. And this is something that, I've talked to our friend Debbie Dingle about, because she's had some issues there too as well. Right. And we've kind of, long-term use of NSAIDs, are very, very hard on certain organs, including your kidney. But what really was the kicker for me is that I got the flu. And, this is another warning about how important flu shots are, because I got the flu. It was a severe flu. I got myself dehydrated. And the combination of the long-term NSAID use and the dehydration is what killed my kidneys. And they went from functioning to non-functioning literally in just a handful of
And you had to
weeks.
have a transplant.
I was on the transplant waiting list for about 5 years.
And we're going to talk more about that too. And so Dr. Norman, our good friend Cliff Russell, a journalist, beloved on the show, he had a kidney transplant and had kidney problems for a long time. His brother gave him one of his kidneys. We know this is an issue more pronounced with people of color, right?
Absolutely. We know that people of color are 3 to 4 times more likely to develop kidney disease, in part because of this excess of diabetes, high blood pressure we see in the population, obesity, as Sandy mentioned. There's also issues of people having a good access to care, getting screened in a timely manner. And so we like to remind people that kidney disease, all of us are potentially at risk for kidney disease. But some of us are at higher risk, and so it's really important that people get screened for kidney disease to make sure that
if there's like 1 or 2 lifestyle, obviously eating a well-balanced meal, don't drink, don't eat fats, fatty foods, salty foods. What kinds of things should people be doing if there was 1 or 2 things that you say this really lowers the risks?
Absolutely. I can't overstate that healthy diet. It sounds bland and boring, but a good, healthy, nutritious diet really is helpful. Regular aerobic exercise, walking, swimming, biking, those things help lower your risk of diabetes and help control your blood pressure. Those 2 things really do more than anything to minimize people's kidney disease risk.
But in so many cases, Carol, and I want to stress this for everyone listening, kidney disease is oftentimes preventable with early diagnosis and care.
Could you have prevented what you had? If you had, I don't know what the test is.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, since again, I came to kidney disease through a very unusual route.
Right.
Right.
But for the general
public, I mean, all the things that the doctor is saying. I mean, if you have hypertension, know that you have hypertension, and the medications are obviously easy to get. If you're overweight, exercise, certainly helps. And now that there's all these, miracle medications that are out there.
Yeah. Much more to say about it. I know you're both you're involved with the foundation as well, the National Kidney Foundation of Michigan's chapter, right?
I serve under Dr. Norman. He's going to be the chair. So
you're going to be the incoming chair, and I assume you're going to be like doing a lot more awareness in the community about this as well, too?
Absolutely. We take every opportunity we can to talk to the community about kidney disease and how to prevent it.
And you know what we're going to do? We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to continue and raise more awareness, so keep it right here. And welcome back to Michigan Matters. We're talking with Dr. Silas Norman and Sandy Baruah about our health and specifically our kidney health. So, Dr. Norman, we hear about kidney transplants, and I know we have pronounced kidney issues here in the state. I'm told that there's a longer wait list for people who may need kidney transplants in Michigan as a result of this. Is that true?
That's true. So in Michigan currently, there are over 2,000 people, Michiganders, waiting for kidney transplants, and the average waiting time in Michigan approaches 5.5 years. So it's a challenge for people who need kidneys.
Yeah, and Sandy, you waited what? How many?
5.5 years, oddly enough. Yeah.
So, and during that time, you had to go through and to visit centers to.
No. So there's actually a few different ways to do dialysis, and dialysis is obviously the treatment that people use when your kidneys have failed. I chose to do mine at home. I chose to keep my kidney disease essentially a secret, other than my close family, very close friends, and my pastor, and my board at work. We kept it a secret for 5.5 years.
And then you waited. And do you know who you got your kidney from?
I know. I'm aware of the family. The family and I have been in touch. Just for us to, express our ongoing gratitude for their gift of life, because she chose to be an organ donor.
And we've talked about this before on the show, the importance of organ donation, particularly living donors, when things like kidneys and the such. And I know this is a big part of the Kidney Foundation, working with Gift of Life and others. This is an important conversation, right?
Absolutely. So absolutely critical. Across the United States, there's over 90,000 people waiting for kidney transplants. And so we really want to stress everybody registering to be an organ donor to help meet that need. And then we know that the best transplant you can get is a living donor transplant. They tend to work better and last longer. And so we really encourage people who think they're healthy and want to help to step up, reach out to a local transplant center.
And so many people, and sometimes we see them in the media, are in real dire straits, and they need that living donor, because waiting for a deceased donor can be very difficult. I had the luxury of waiting for a deceased donor. So the beautiful woman who passed away, I was able to get one of her kidneys, and then obviously someone else got her other kidney.
Right.
But I was very fortunate that I had the luxury of waiting because of my other underlying health conditions.
And a big part of the mission today for your organization is raising information about this, what people can do. In fact, it's pretty easy in Michigan now, isn't it, to sign up to be an organ donor on your driver's license? You just check the box that...
Absolutely. You can do that in your Secretary of State's office. You can go to Gift of Life Michigan and sign up online.
Okay. And so, Sandy, let me ask you this, because you're with the Detroit Chamber. Chamber's based in Detroit. In the community of color, I've heard that the community is not as anxious to sign up to be a potential donor in the community, and talk about that.
Yeah, so the Detroit Regional Chamber, we're not a public health organization.
No, but I'm saying you're just in Detroit.
Yeah, and we obviously represent the region and the state. But this is why I serve on the National Kidney Foundation board, is because this is a way for me to help, raise awareness of the importance of organ donation, because there are certain segments of the community that are more resistant to it than others.
Yeah. And Dr. Norman, you're from Detroit originally, right?
I am.
Which side? East, west side?
West side.
Okay, I won't hold that against you, being an East Sider here. But so you've been here and you've seen this disease. And I'm going to assume that because of this pronounced issue is the reason you pursued this side of the medicine, right?
It was. Absolutely.
So why? What in particular about kidney disease versus saying heart disease or diabetes or something else?
Sure. So I think one of the things important about kidney disease is it's really a silent disease. It's not until people have really advanced disease often that people have symptoms. And so we really have an epidemic of disease in the state that's unrecognized because of that. At the same time, we have a lot of new therapies. We have transplantation, a lot of ways to help people. So it's a really rewarding field to be in because we can do a lot of good for a lot of people.
We're not going to talk too much politics here, I promise you. But with what's going on with research dollars coming to the federal government and the such, how is it impacting things like doing more research into diseases like kidney disease?
Absolutely. So I think one of the fantastic things, if you can say that about kidney disease, is that there's always been bipartisan support for preventing and treating kidney disease. There's a very interesting effort that CMS is doing right now called IOTA. Increasing organ transplant access that's specifically working to incentivize transplant centers to increase access to transplant, expand volume, and give people opportunities for life-saving transplants.
And I know that this is the 70th anniversary of the National Kidney Foundation, and I know there's a big awareness campaign going on here. So anything else you can say to add more fuel to the fire, if you will, of getting people more engaged and focusing on their kidney health right now?
Absolutely. I think fundamentally I'd say kidney disease is largely preventable and certainly treatable, so we encourage people to get screened. We encourage people to engage with the foundation, and if people have the means, as you said, it's our 70th year, so consider donating $70 to our Emergency Patient Assistance Fund.
Sandy, you get the final word. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I'm just so appreciative of the work of the National Kidney Foundation. Our CEO, Linda, does a great job. It's a very, very well-run organization, and it's absolutely critical because the government can only do so much, the healthcare systems can only do so much. The National Kidney Foundation fills that gap.
And people have to take charge of their own health, right?
Absolutely.
That'll be the final word. Thank you guys so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Important conversation, and we'll be watching to 2026 and see what goes on with all this in the healthcare front. But thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
And keep it right here. We're back with more Michigan Matters after this little time out. And we're now joined by Paul Glantz, CEO of Imagine Entertainment, who owns movie theaters in Michigan and a few other states. It's great to have you back with us. I know it's been a few years. I think the last time you were here was during the early days of the pandemic, and we did a Zoom interview. So I know things are going better.
Oh, without a doubt, my word. The pandemic was an interesting bump in the road, wasn't it?
Oh, I think it seems like that was a million years ago and not a chapter we'd want to go revisit here. But let's talk about your big news. You announced that you're selling the company to, is it Canopolis?
Canopolis.
Canopolis. It's a Belgium company?
Yes.
And I guess a lot of people were surprised. Were you looking to sell the company?
We were actually about 2 weeks away from selling the company when COVID came around.
Oh.
And needless to say, that didn't quite go through. But, I've had investors involved in the business, Carol, since 1996. And that's a long time to have a private equity investment, illiquid investment. And so they felt like, it was time. But I also thought about it for quite some time and thought, this is in the best interest of my family as well. Because ultimately, my job was not only to serve our guests, and that's first and foremost, but in doing so, we were able to serve our shareholders. And in this case, I wanted to protect the value of the company. And so I thought, best to sell while we're on top, while we're not desperate to sell.
Right. How many theaters do you have in all right now, and in how many states?
We have 16 locations in 15 markets. Birmingham, we have 2 locations, consider it one market. We're in Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, and Wisconsin.
So I guess the question becomes, once the sale is complete, and I think it's supposed to be done by year's end?
Well, that's what we're shooting for. Whether that happens or not is to be determined.
Will you be involved with the company after?
I'm pleased to tell you that I will be. I've been asked to stick around as a brand ambassador, and I'm delighted to do so.
So when people go to your theaters and they have a little thing, a welcome from you, saying, welcome to Imagine Theater, you're still going to be there doing that?
I am still going to be there.
Yeah. So the theater business, the movie theater business, has gone through major changes, competition from streaming and, watching at home and other things like that. How much has it rebounded from the pandemic? Is it back to where it was? Is it still a long way away?
The industry itself is not back. It's down 30 to 35%. But I would say it's a tale of two cities. those who've had the means and the inclination to reinvest in the business have done very well. And those that have not been done so are suffering mightily. And so on a per-store basis, we're at about the attendance we enjoyed back in 2019.
So there's also been a number of blockbuster type movies. They seem to be kids' movies, well, aimed at younger people, maybe not kids, aimed at younger people. The new Wicked movie, Avatar. Is that kind of like the future and these cartoon, these superhero type things?
Well, young people have always been our strongest demographic, and so I can understand why Hollywood directs product to them. And so, but I think Wicked actually appeals to all demographics.
Yeah, yeah. There's a certain mayor of Detroit who told me that he loved, I was flabbergasted to hear him say this, loved that movie, the original. I don't know that he's seen the new one yet, but anyway. Do you, in terms of how many big movies coming out, the Tom Cruise type movies, Hollywood seems to be churning out less of those blockbusters. Has that impacted what's taking place?
It absolutely has, and that's one of the challenges that I think the industry faces, that there's been consolidation in the industry. Disney acquired Fox, and they reduced the output of feature films. A lot of the talent and the scripts are being used for streaming content now. And so it has constrained output. But I think that nature abhors a vacuum. And I see independent filmmakers and folks outside of Hollywood filling that gap. And so I'm optimistic about the future of the industry.
Right. You also you're very community-minded. In fact, I did not realize until you and I were just talking before you sat down that you were involved with the National Kidney Foundation of Michigan. In fact, was one of the sponsors and chairman of the Kidney Walk that they have. And you're involved with so many different issues here. And when you look at all the things going on here in the marketplace here, you're still going to continue your role in the community, right, with all these things?
I am, and I enjoy it immensely. But you know what? I think it's been good for business, too, because when people know that you're not just taking from society, but you're giving back, that you genuinely care about your guests and the community, I think they feel better about doing business with you.
So when that transition is done and the Belgium company now owns Imagine and you're there in the ambassador role, I can't imagine you just sitting back and going to play golf and chilling, as they say. I imagine you're looking to get back in business somehow, right?
I have no intention of retiring.
So do you know what you're going to do? Are you looking to buy or start another company?
I'm working with my youngest son, Jim, and we're looking to buy a business. So if anyone out there has got a unique, profitable business, look me up.
What kind of business? Entertainment? Or?
It's got to involve technology. I think technology is the future, and one of the reasons we've been successful at Imagine is we've always been connected to technology. We were the first in the world to do all digital projection. And technology is what will continue to drive wealth creation in this world.
And I know we're going to take a quick break here and continue the conversation as we can talk about movies and much more. Keep it here. Welcome back to Michigan Matters. We're talking with Paul Glantz of Imagine Entertainment, who I'm sure you see if you go to the movie theaters because he's there at the start welcoming everybody to it. You talked about the theater business along the way and revamping and changing. And the old days where a theater was just there, you went and saw a movie and that was the end of it. You've turned it into your theaters into community experiences, right? With bringing in causes and issues and raising funds for organizations.
Yeah, I mean, I think of our venues not just as movie houses, but as places where we can host community events and so forth and other forms of entertainment. It's it's a circumstance where we can create value in excess of our cost through the application of using our venues.
Our friend Rob Murphy, former coach at Eastern Michigan, worked for the Pistons, other places from Detroit, wrote a book, was just made into a movie, and it debuted at the Imagine Theater. It was a big fundraiser for his foundation, which helps kids in Detroit. I know education, too, is an important part of what you're interested. You and your wife are involved with different causes and make donations there, right?
Yes, Mary and I feel strongly that education is a stepping stone to a better life, and so we want to encourage young people to become educated. And, if you talked to Sandy a little earlier, that's a big initiative for the Chamber is to enhance the educational achievement here in Michigan so as to grow our household incomes.
We recently had Susie Siegel, who is the president CEO of Walsh College on, and she talked about you. And I knew you had moved your headquarters to their campus. I didn't realize you were an alum. Was that done by design to move the offices there?
it was a good deal. And we're very happy to be there. And I will probably have an office there even after the transaction. They think Susie wants to call me an executive in residence.
In fact, actually, are you teaching? You could be teaching entrepreneur classes there.
I had the privilege last Friday to address one of her PhD classes, and so it's fun for me to talk about what I've learned in business.
The other thing, too, that seems to be changing with all of this is when it comes to education is, I don't know, what's your feeling about a 4-year college degree? Because that's been a big conversation. Some say you don't necessarily need that, trade school, whatever, but what do you think about that?
I think young people have to find their own way, and here's what I would tell you. I think that technical training and trades are really valuable, and we don't have enough young people filling those positions today. So I'm a big proponent of not just a formal baccalaureate degree, but also skills training, learning skilled trades. I mean, you and I don't fix our own automobiles. We don't know plumbing. I mean, we need folks who know how to do that stuff.
You're also involved with the Detroit Regional Chamber and many other organizations across the community here, too, right?
Yes.
So, again, I want to take too deep a dive into politics here. That's not the purpose of the show. But how do you think, as a region, we're doing at dealing with education?
Well, I think we're failing, and I don't think there's anyone that could tell us otherwise. The truth is that, we've changed places with Mississippi, and so we need a more educated workforce here in Michigan, and that starts with K through 12. Now, I'm also one that believes that parents are ultimately responsible for educating their children. I don't think you can outsource education to the schools. I think parents have to become more involved and realize that they take ultimate responsibility. They should be reading to their children from the time they're 1 years old, because that's so critically important.
Are you optimistic with what's taking place in Lansing and what's taking place in Washington that education is going to get its due in 2026?
Well, I certainly hope so. Again, I think that we've got a long ways to go here in Michigan. We've regressed over the years. When I was in primary school, we had a great system of public education, and I'm a product of our public education. I went to public schools in Redford Township, South Redford Schools, and then Wayne State University for my bachelor's degree. Ultimately, I earned my master's in tax from Walsh College. But not everyone is necessarily suited for that, and I think that we desperately need skilled people. So there's got to be some type of post-secondary education in order to be able to support yourself in the society today.
As you sit here today, you're in the process of selling the company, Imagine, and you're looking possibly for a company. Will you and your son work together in this company in kind of a thing here? I mean, is there like a laundry list of things you'd want it to have?
Well, yeah, my son, Jim, has a degree in materials engineering from Michigan. And he serves as a project manager and as a leader in the auto industry, as a supplier. And so I think he has a skill set that a little capital behind him and maybe a little mentoring by Dad, he can do quite well.
If you were starting out today yourself, I know you started Imagine how many years ago?
Well, the predecessor started in 1989.
And when did you get on board?
1989.
Okay. If today you were just starting today, would you go in the movie theater?
I wouldn't have the means to do so. The capital that came for the first movie theater was $75,000 we borrowed from the bank and $50,000 we borrowed from our credit cards. So I don't think I could get into business today with that capital structure.
Do you think we're doing enough to support our entrepreneurs who want to do startups and create in the creative class, if you will?
I don't think that entrepreneurs can be created. I think
they're born.
They're born, and you have to have a proclivity for it. Now, you can teach skills.
And unfortunately, I hate to say this, that's going to be the last word. And you were born an entrepreneur. That's one thing I'm positive of. Paul, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it. And we'll be talking with you in 2026 to see what you end up doing next. Thanks you at home for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you next week for a little bit more Michigan Matters.